everyone. Welcome back to the Kempire Radio podcast. And I have a special guest with me, probably one of our very last podcast episodes of the year. Of course, I had to end it with our girl. Grace Report is here.
Hey, Kempire. I'm so happy we're going to be wrapping it up with me. Thank you.
Yes. First of all, Grace, you've been doing this for quite a long time, and we've been collaborating for over a year now. This is our second season of covering the Real Housewives of Potomac. Guys, if you missed our coverage with Layla Lynn, be sure to check out all of our channels. I'll post all the information in the description of the episode and of the video that we'll be posting on the Kempire Radio YouTube channel. Grace, can we just, first of all, for those that don't know who you are and how you got into the space of YouTube, can you, because I know what the streets call you. They call you like what is the show that you like really known for?
Oh, the Teen Mom Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never watched Teen Mom. I know some of the people that are really famous from it, but I never watched it. How did you get into that space, and then all of a sudden it had became the queen of the Teen Mom space?
It's so funny. Like, I was obsessed. Like, that show at its peak was iconic. Even Rihanna was quoting like the Janelle girl from it, because she was losing custody of her son, and then she had to choose, and she had to choose between jail for some drug stuff, I think, as well, or going to a Kesha concert. Her lawyer was like, listen, you have to show up to this like jail or court date or something like that, or else you're going to go to jail and then you're going to lose custody of your son. And she's like, well, I can't. Like, I have a Kesha concert. That's why I have all these feathers in my hair. Rihanna reposted that, which was so funny. I was just obsessed with it. And then I remember being frustrated with one of the girls. Her name was Leah. And it was very obvious that she was like getting really high on drugs, right? And so she didn't want it to be talked about. So she kept trying to produce the show and police what people could say about it, like her baby daddies, when they wanted to bring it up and how scared they were for their kids. And so I made one video. I was not intending to be a YouTuber. I made one video about it, like, because I studied journalism and communications in uni. And I loved, as a Canadian, I loved the Rick Mercer report and Rick Mercer as a journalist. So I loved his style of just like ranting. So I was like, let me just make one rant. And I did that. And somehow it became really popular. And then people found my Twitter, which was not even a Grace Report Twitter. It was just like a random thing at the time. And then they kept asking me to make videos. I was like, all right, I guess.
And how long ago was that?
That was a long time ago. I believe it was like 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
And here you are. And now you of course delve into other spaces of pop culture news and things like that. I didn't even know about the whole journalism background that you have, but I could tell. And that's part of the reason why I gravitated to your channel. I was like, I like how she presents her news. But I didn't know you were the Teen Mom girl until I was like, wait a minute. Wow. And Teen Mom is still on the air.
Yeah, it's still on the air. And you know what's so funny? I've been so exhausted with them that this season I have not been keeping up as much as I usually do, because it's just, they went from being 16 when they first started, and now they're like 30 or 31 years old. So it's kind of like, can we give it a rest already and like move? You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of ready for that show to be over. I know it's my flagship and stuff, but I feel like now with all the other new and exciting shows out there, Love is Blind and whatnot, like, I'm so excited to focus on those ones these days.
You've been doing deep dives on them.
Yeah, I love analyzing like the psychology of these people, even though I have like no psychology background. I'm an armchair psychologist, and I love that about Love is Blind.
And that's my background, which is funny. My background is psychology.
No way. I thought you were like into accounting or HR or something. I remember a law firm and HR or accounting.
HR, a law firm for like 15 years. But before that, I worked with people with developmental disabilities too.
Wow, that's incredible.
Singer, songwriter, all that stuff. But this is not about me. This is about you. How did you go from Canada to Paris? The land. First of all, are you watching Love Without Borders on Bravo?
I am. I watched the first episode, and I do need to keep on that. It's good so far. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. But I've always wanted to go to Paris. I love Paris. I finally went to Paris. I had a little bit of a love affair when I was in Paris. And that was right before the pandemic. Look, the French people, they get a bad rap, but they love them some love. They're very romantic.
Yes, it's true.
How did you end up from Canada to Paris?
All right. Well, it's a cliche story because everyone I meet here, you meet so many people who come alone from various countries here. But when I was living in Canada, I was dating a guy. He was older than me. He was from Quebec, which is the French side of Canada. And he was Lebanese as well. So he spoke French and English. And at the time, like in Canada, you learn French throughout school, but not enough to actually speak French. And so my friends were always like, you know, the Ontario people, like on my side where we spoke English. And so when I got with him, he opened my like world up to like the French, because his friends, you know, they spoke French and whatnot. And so I would always feel bad when they would switch to English when I was around. I would feel kind of like dumb. So I'd be like, oh my God, Grace, you really, really need to get into this French stuff. So I started studying it. And I grew up bilingual anyway, because I'm Kenyan. So like languages kind of come easier to me. And so I started studying
don't rub it in. Because when I was in France, I was like, I only knew very little. I didn't learn French in school. I always wanted to learn French. It wasn't offered in my high school. But when I went to France, I was like, you really need to know some French to, first of all, to visit there, but definitely if we're going to live there. So,
absolutely.
How did you follow this man? Did you follow this man to France?
No, even better. Okay. This man cheated on me. Yeah. And I was devastated. Honestly, it was the most devastating thing of my life. It was with like a girl that I knew. Like we used to hang out. We used to go on trips with this. Yes. Yes. Do you remember this past recap we did on your channel of RHOP? I think we were talking about how like I knew people who would like shit, like have open relationships where they have orgies with their friends, and this was the girl. His friend was dating another girl, and then together as like a swingerish couple, they met this girl on Tinder, and then she started sleeping with them, and then he got with this girl, and I'm like, okay, like let me go. I started learning French. Let me go finalize my studies by actually moving to France. You know what I mean? It was working.
Wait, did you just want to escape Canada because of this situation? Or did you just like, you were running away?
We lived in the same building, Kempire. So it was just like constant anxiety. I could not leave my apartment. And then like he moved her in while we were dating. And I had no idea. I remember seeing her once in the building. Yes. It was really devastating. So I'm like, I need to be as far away from this as possible. Let me just like focus on French in Paris.
Oh my, and you ended up leaving. And how long have you been in Paris now?
Almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in January. Yeah.
Wow. And how's the French? Because you know the French, even if they're very particular on how you speak French.
It's true. It's true. Oh, I've had some experiences with that, but now I speak at a really high level. I'm at C1 level. I got certified because you have to do some testing, some language testing to get this visa that I'm on. So I did testing and I landed at C1, so which is near native level. So I feel great about that. But honestly, Kempire, learning French and then after learning Spanish as well has jumbled my brain. I feel like I used to speak so fluidly and well, but now like when I'm speaking in English, when I'm speaking in French, when I'm speaking this, that, like my brain is freezing all the time.
I can only imagine. And that's why when people talk about people, especially when we're talking reality TV and we're talking about culture, we're talking about languages, I think you don't think about that, especially if English is not someone's first language.
Yeah.
I always think about that. And that comes from traveling the world. It's an education that you can't experience anywhere else. But since you're here, and I love the sound of French, can you teach us something in French?
Okay, what would you like me to say, Kempire?
So I can flirt.
Oh my God, I don't even know. Oh, teach you how to flirt in French.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Okay, I have to think about it because I do be flirting out here.
I know you do. You're a single woman and you're Emily in Paris. I heard the French don't like Emily in Paris.
Well, you know what's so funny? The guy, because I was telling him that I'm seeing a new guy. This guy and we love Emily in Paris. And you know what's so funny? A lot of it is shot in my area. Like her office building is like where I pass every day when I go to the gym. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, Kempire, we're supposed to be teaching you your flirting skills. What if you say something to me and I have to respond back in French? And mind you, I do not have a Parisian accent. It's still an Anglophone accent.
What can I say? No, look, I don't flirt with girls often, so
no.
All right.
I know.
What can I say?
Maybe you're new here. You want to tell someone like, oh, bonjour, je m'appelle Kempire, je suis nouveau, je viens des États-Unis, enchanté.
These are words I am somewhat familiar with.
Yeah.
But I have Rosetta Stone. I need to use it. I just gotta figure out the time.
I'm telling you, Kempire, Pimsleur and Rosetta Stone are so good. I did Pimsleur, and I listen to these things when I'm in the shower, when I'm doing makeup, when I am walking, when I am working out, when I like just those things, when I'm washing dishes. Yeah. Well, for Spanish, right? Because now I'm learning Spanish. Yeah. Yeah.
How's that coming along?
It's good. So now I watch whenever I'm not watching stuff for work for YouTube. I don't watch things in English. So in my personal life, I watch things only in French or in Spanish. So I finished La Casa de las Flores on Netflix, Los Ingobernables. Like I really love that kind of stuff. And then like French shows. What was I watching recently? I love do you like The Circle? Because they have one here in France. It's so good.
Oh, really? I didn't know they had one there. I fell out the last couple of seasons just because there's so much stuff to watch. But I did originally like watching it. I thought it was such a good show. One of my friends was on one of the seasons too.
No way.
I didn't know you were doing this, but okay. Would you do reality TV?
What?
Would you do reality TV?
Would I do it? I don't think so. You know what's funny? They have a show called The Real Girlfriends in Paris. And I remember when they were casting it, people were asking me like, why don't you do it? Because they're looking for like American or whatever expats. And I just like talking about shows. I don't want people talking about me and my decisions and my messy life. Like I prefer, this side.
I agree, but I'm not going to lie. I would have been probably more invested in watching Real Girlfriends if you were on it. You have a following. I don't know any of those people.
Oh my God. So I tried to send it to my friend. Like she went through the casting. They called her and everything because she's like an Instagram blogger. I'm like, this might be kind of cool for you. You know what I mean? But it's pretty good, but I'm not yet done, but it's pretty good so far. Yeah.
So backtracking a little bit. So when you left Canada and you moved to Paris, what has the experience been like? You've been there a few years at this point. What has the experience? What have been the highs and the lows?
The low was definitely coming. When I came here, there was already that big, there's always protests here, but
when I was there was protests.
Right. Always. So there was like a big transpo protest in the middle of winter. So it was hard to get around. Then right after that, COVID came. So I had to go back to Canada for a few months because we were all scared. Like nobody knew what lockdown, what COVID, what any of this stuff meant. So my family really insisted that I came back to, over there. Honestly, it's really hard to like lock down an apartment here as a foreigner. They prefer French people and people with like French jobs and stuff like that. But I feel like the friend group that I've been able to cultivate, and even my dating life, are really highs for me. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I have such a good, full social life. I have to keep a calendar to make sure, you know what I mean? Yeah. People love going out.
The part that a lot of people, because if you watch Sex and the City, they all think, oh, you go to Paris, you're alone, you're not going to meet any people. No. So how did you do that, though? I think that's the key. How did you cultivate these sorts of friendships and relationships?
Relationships. Oh my. Well, you know what? Learning the language for sure. Because I do have some friends, no offense, but the friends who do this are Americans. But I do have some friends who haven't learned the language. One of my friends has been here 14 years now, and she still doesn't really speak French. And she was married to a Frenchman for like 8 years. Yeah. I know.
How's that work? Because she needs to let me know.
I swear it's wild. I don't know how they do it or why they do it, but there are people like that. Then I have another one who has been here for like 4-ish years, doesn't speak. So like their social lives look different than mine. Mine is very deliberately, I want to be around French speaking people. I want to speak the best French possible. I really want to integrate. That's a really big thing. And so I feel like that helps a lot more, with meeting people, dating, and just having like real friendships and real relationships and feeling like a part of your new country. Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, and I'll just a little sneak peek into my trip when I went there. So I spent New Year's Eve with this person, my friend, and a group of his friends. And they were speaking Arabic, they were speaking French. And I have to say, I felt a little left out because I know if I moved to Paris, I would have to learn the language because you're right. I think it's such an important way to make friendships and bonds with people because they were trying to include me. But then I had that Carrie moment. I was just like, this is not fun at all.
I know it sucks, honestly. And that's a reason why I only date French or Spanish men now. Because before I was like, I don't really mind. I don't see color. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't care. Because when you're from Canada or the US, like you are, when you meet people and they tell you that they're from somewhere, like for example, I'm from Kenya, meaning I was born there and I was raised there for 4 years, but I'm, for all intents and purposes, tout à fait Canadian, right? I've got friend like my ex, he Lebanese, but he was not born there. So like I went in with that mentality where if I meet a person, let's say for example, I meet a person from like Portugal. I dated someone like this. He wasn't actually from Portugal, but he was like, oh, I'm from this place. And I was like, oh, that means like you're kind of from there, the way that we're kind of from these places. But no, it meant like he's in the circle of only these people. The friends are like this. When you're around the family, they only speak like this and you're left out. So I'm like, I'm done learning languages. I can only be with French or a Spanish speaking person.
Or English. Like, or English?
No, I refuse to be with an Anglophone. Yeah, I didn't come all the way to Europe to be in an English-speaking relationship. No. Hell no. That's so boring.
What if they're bilingual?
You know what? It helps because before the guy that I'm seeing now, my other few guys, they have not spoken any English. And sometimes it is tiring. Like if you drink a lot, like at the end of it, you're like, I'm so tired of speaking this French stuff. Can we, can we be real in English? You know what I mean? So the new guy that I'm dating, he likes English. He likes to practice his English with that cute French accent. So that's nice, but not too much. I don't want too much English in my life.
Well, this is part of the reason why I'm loving the gay couple that we were introduced to on Love Without Borders, which is on Bravo. That they're not paying me, but they should. But I love. Maybe that's why I like 90 Day Fiance. Well, yeah, 90 Day Fiance is really, I don't know what's happening to that franchise. But Love Without Borders, it's something different on Bravo. It's from the Love is Blind producers. I like it so far. I mean, it's a dating show, but it's a different sort of perspective. Let's talk about dating. Yeah. Dating in Paris, you give a little idea of what you're looking for, but like, what has the dating been like? What are the ups and the downs of dating in France or Europe in general?
Yeah, it's like you say, especially here, the men love to love, the French love to love. So you can really think that you're building something and then like one day out of nowhere, he'll be like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. You're like, what? But you were like full court pressing me. So like, you really do have to kind of like not take everything at face value with these kinds of men. I love the dating culture here because I'm used to where I'm from. In Ottawa, it was kind of normal to like kiss on the first date, even if you're not like feeling like the idea of a relationship. You're like, okay, well, that was nice. Let's kiss or something like that. But here, typically, and do you still do this where you have to have a conversation to know if you're in a relationship or not with somebody, like in the US or Canada?
Look, the gay rules are very different than the heterosexual rules.
Yeah,
conversations gay guys are having are very different than what lesbians are having, or very different than what heterosexuals are having. You're trying to figure out if you're top or bottom at the first conversation. So
I love it.
It's a little different.
It's different. Well, what I was used to in Canada was like you start dating someone and you see each other maybe like once or twice a week. And then after about a month or two, you're kind of like, okay, well, when we're going to talk about this? What are we seeing other people? Is this my boyfriend? Am I his girlfriend? But here it's a lot more kind of straightforward where you're just seeing someone. And then after like the third or the fourth date, like if you want to be like in a relationship, in my experience anyway, you kiss them. And then when you kiss them, it kind of means that you are in a relationship. And I remember not knowing that I was in relationships before because I wasn't used to this, but it is how it is kind of, well, in my experience, because some of my friends have different experiences, but that's how it's been like for me here. Yeah. Like,
really? Okay. Yeah. Would you consider that an up or a down? Like what is the downside?
I like it because I feel like it's a lot more straightforward. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, all right, like I know this and I don't have to kind of like wonder for a while. It's like pretty like soon into it. And then you've already got like a feel of them. Like you're talking to them a lot in between dates and stuff. There's not this culture of dating a bunch of different people at the same time, really. Like I really like that. I feel a lot more comfortable with it.
Okay. So you're excited about the prospects of dating in Paris right now. Look, wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Honestly, I'm telling you guys, like, it could be a full-time job. The amount of like dates you have out here, Kempire, come over here. You've already experienced it, right? In such a
A little
short
bit.
period of time. Like, come live here full-time and you'll be tired trying to fit all these dates in.
And trying to work.
Yes, and trying to work. And like when you go out, people want to like, talk to you and this or that. Like I feel like the men here are a lot more kind of like forward. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, don't be surprised if I see you very soon. I mean, I really love Paris. I've always loved Paris. And when I went, one of the big things, my friend was like, you're probably a little disappointed because I expected it to be a little bit more magical in regards to the Christmas of it all. But
Yeah.
they're not really big into Christmas in France like that. Except that one spot in the mall with that huge, big, beautiful tree. And I was just like, oh, and my friend surprised me with that. And I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
really like
Ah,
beautiful. But I was just shocked,
yeah.
especially I think the year before I went to Berlin and, Germany and their
Mhm.
Christmas villages and things like that. So
Yes. Hmm.
I thought Europe. Okay.
You know what's so
So,
funny? The closest we have to that Christmas village is in Strasbourg, which is about 2 hours from Paris. You can make it a day trip, and then you'll have like a nice village like that.
uh-huh.
But in Paris, we've got Les Jardins de Tuileries. It's next to the Louvre. And I do owe you those videos. I will send them to you because you didn't get to see my Instagram stories. But
Yeah.
we have been like trying. We've got that little thing going on.
Look, I mean, when my friend explained it to me, I was like, okay, I get it. It to me, when it comes to the culture of how they feel about people's freedoms and things like that, to me, it made complete sense. I'm like, all right, I get it. I
Yeah.
mean, okay, Scrooge. That's fair.
I
But
feel
along
you.
with moving to Paris and working and doing so were you doing YouTube and things like that in Canada, or did you start doing the YouTube when you were in Paris?
I started doing it in Canada because people were asking me to make more videos. So I decided to make more videos and then recap the episodes. But I was always working as well because I don't know. It wasn't like a thing for me, the whole like YouTube thing. So yeah, like I was always doing it on the side. And then in 2020, of course, COVID layoffs. I got laid off, but I worked in tech, so I was used to layoffs, right?
Mm.
Startups. So at that point, I was like, well, I feel pretty good about like doing YouTube full time at this point. So why don't I kind of give it a shot? So that's when I started really like, doing more YouTube. Yeah.
And how has that journey been? Because that's very similar to you, because you know my story. That was very
Yeah.
similar to what happened with me as well. I worked in corporate America for 15 years. And during the
Mhm.
pandemic, being home, working from home, and then
Yeah.
trying to delve and take this side of the business more seriously, I just took the
Mhm.
leap and I was just like, let me just do it. And
Exactly.
here we
Mhm.
are. So how's that experience and transition been for you?
You know what? It was tough at the beginning because COVID depression hit me really hard in 2020. Like being in my apartment, that was my first year here. I did like at that time, I didn't know that many people. And then France had some of the strictest laws. You could not be out of your house more than 1 hour or more than 1 kilometer from your house. And like there were always cops everywhere. Like it felt like living in like an army zone almost. And so I would get a lot of anxiety and depression from that. So
Wow.
I like, although I finally decided to do it full time, I had a hard time even making videos because I was so depressed about the COVID situation there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would say 2021 is when things really started to pick up. And that was a year where I really got to travel Europe in a way where I was like, oh my God, I could never go back to Canada after that because we had like we had this wedding in Romania to go to, and we decided to do a road trip. So that's when I saw like 12 or 13 countries in 1 year. I was like, let's go do this, let's do that. We just like stopped at country after country after country on our way there. And I was like, this is incredible. Like, I can't leave this.
And I'm so glad you're doing this because you're quite younger than I am. You're in your late 20s, right?
Yeah, I'm 29.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that you're doing this at this point in your life, because when I was in my 20s, I was just working and I
Mhm.
wanted to travel, and I didn't really start traveling probably until my late 20s, early 30s. And
Um,
it's one of the things that, not that I regret, because I don't have any regrets, but I
yeah.
kind of wish that I did more earlier. And
Mhm.
I do wish that I lived in Europe, because it is so much easier to see a lot of these countries
Yeah.
from being centered there. So I think that's
Mhm.
amazing that you're doing that.
Thank you. Well, listen, it's amazing that you're doing it, period, too. You know what I mean? Like everyone's journey is a little bit different, but like you've still been able to. You were in the Netherlands last year, which was incredible.
I love the
I know
Netherlands.
they give you grief with your vaccination thing not really being accepted there. Yeah,
Oh my
I
God.
remember.
I wonder if they've changed that. I mean, I'm hoping so. Everywhere else is pretty much stopped except China. China's just still like
Mhm.
locked down. They were having protests the other day.
Mhm.
How's the World Cup over there? Are people really watching the world? They must be because Paris is doing well, right?
Yeah, France is doing so well. We love her, Mbappe, and he's doing a really good job for sure, for sure. I think he's up with England. France versus England is coming up. It seems like France really believes that we're going to win again this year. It's been, I think we won the last one 4 years ago, and we see ourselves winning it again this year. I went to a bar with my friend Muna to watch a match last week, and we walked around for like 40 minutes ahead of the thing trying to find a bar because they were all jam-packed. It's hard to get in. Yeah, it's a big deal.
I'm not into sports. You know, we call ourselves KSPN and Kempire Sports. And you know why I'm watching? Because the guys in football are cute.
It's true. Their bodies are banging. Like, they look good. They look good.
And some of them have bank.
I know, that's right.
Some of them do. Some of them have a lot of money. But also, if you get into the games, if you look past all the good looks and the bodies, it's actually a very interesting game to watch. So I get the fascination. Although since I've been back, I've been busy too. I haven't really watched the game like that. I need to get back. I think once it gets towards like the end of it, I'll get more into it.
You're like me. I like the final stuff. And I only go if my friends are into it because I like the ambiance. I really love being in a sports bar with a bunch of people cheering for the same team or whatnot. Like, those are the only things. I don't watch from my house by myself or anything like that.
So that's part of the reason why I haven't done it. It was fun watching it with my friend while I was away. And I was like, oh, this is fun. This is cute. Look at this cutie. At my home, I'm like, I got work to do. I got things I can watch a show. Speaking of shows, that's a perfect transition. As you know, we recap, guys, Real Housewives of Potomac every single week with Layla Lynn on our channels. I'll post all of our channels in the description of the video and the podcast episode. And we talk about Potomac all the time. So I'm not going to even bring up Potomac unless it comes up naturally. But there are other shows that you and I talk about that we've been talking about. Can we, first of all, because you just finished My Unorthodox Life, and I've been following the whole Julia Hart situation. I have not reported on it because I've been reporting on everything. But that situation is so messy. Isn't this man, Silvio, engaged to someone else right now?
Yeah, like, he has moved so quickly since all this happened. And I don't know how his new fiance is not scared. Like, you know what, Les? Because this man went on the attack against Julia when they were going through their divorce. Like, it was insane. The amount of stories that he would plant within page 6 to really like smear her character and make her look like crazy or gold diggerish or like fake or fraud. Like, I would be scared if I were the next woman, but allegedly he's got so much money. He might be like billionaire status or something. I can see why some women would look the other way, but I don't think it's worth it to deal with someone like that.
So you don't think that there is a little truth to Julia being a little bit of a gold digger?
Listen, a coin is cute and a coin is attractive. So I could definitely see that playing a factor for sure. For sure. But I think a lot of the stuff that he has been saying about her, like, for example, with the car, I think she proved that she owned the car, but he called the cops to try to get it repossessed from her and stuff like that. Like, that was a little cuckoo. And then hearing that he would not have dinner with her kids in the house, like, so she would have 2 dinners like separately and stuff, like, very odd.
But my thing is, and this is why it's important to get to know someone. Don't you think the signs of him and his behavior, if he wasn't embracing your children before you got married to him, why would you get married to him?
Well, that's the thing. And you know what's so funny about this show is that I didn't really care for season 1. I found it too preachy and sanctimonious. So I made it only to 2-3 episodes. So I didn't really see his character that much. Like, did you watch all of season 1?
He wasn't in it a lot in season 1. You got to see random moments with them together. So I never really paid attention to their relationship like that until all the drama. It was mostly about her and her kids. I really feel like she is trying to be a Kris Jenner in this situation.
Oh, absolutely. And I do agree with you. That has crossed my mind as well. I'm like, I don't think this came out of nowhere, the whole I don't really care for your kids thing. I think that it was always there, and that, maybe like the potential of being a co-owner of that big modeling agency kind of played a role in her looking the other way, perhaps. Yeah.
Do you think she stole the money that he's accusing her of stealing from the company?
I want to say no. I think she explains it in the show that she did take money, but not from the elite group, maybe from their joint marital account instead.
Mm.
Yeah. Do you?
I'm still watching. I know you just finished My Unorthodox Life on Netflix. You're welcome,
Yeah.
Netflix. Run us a check. But based off the first few episodes that I watched, I just felt like I feel like they're trying to use this show to spin a certain narrative, very similar to what he's been trying to do in, blogs and media
Yeah.
outlets. I feel like she's trying to use this show to spin her own narrative. I mean, I think they're both the same, and this is why they were attracted to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really feel like there's any innocent party here, but I do feel like the Netflix show is her way of getting back at him.
I could totally see that. It's heavy. Like how do you say, it's heavily leaning towards this one side, just like you say, the page 6 articles are leaning towards the other side. The truth is somewhere in the middle for sure. One thing that really jumped out to me in the Netflix thing was the fact that her daughter was going through her own divorce at the same time. And it seemed like no one really cared about that throughout the season. I was like, when is someone going to check on this girl?
Well, she seemed like she moved on pretty quickly herself. Like she just was like ready to get out of that relationship because and I respect her decision. She's like, you know what? He wants a more traditional Orthodox family. And I don't want that. She basically wants what her mom has. And she was like, this relationship is not going to work. It's just kind of the timing of everything. It's just kind of like what's happening?
Exactly. But honestly, it was tough to watch her be scolded by her mom. Her mom was like, you're not there enough for me. But I was like, all the things that this girl did for the mom, like she would bring people like, oh, I feel like this would help my mom relax. I feel like this would help my mom in this way. Like that's her love language. Whereas the other ones, will tell you this or will do other things. But her mom doesn't really recognize her love language. And so I felt really bad for her that she has to do all this. I feel like when you're going through your own breakup or divorce or whatever, it might be triggering to have someone who's going through the same thing, just crying about theirs. It's like, let me manage my feelings about mine,
This is why I feel like there's, and I know we use this, probably overuse this.
Yeah.
There's a little narcissism that I get from Julia Hart.
Absolutely. Do you remember episode 2 where she's talking about how hard it's going to be to take off her ring? And her daughter is like, relax, mom. I had my ring for 9 years, and her mom was married for a year and a half. So that was quite funny. And then she's talking about how the daughter's talking about how hard it's going to be dating because she never did date, right? Like she was in this kind of like, and I kind of feel bad repeating her words, but extreme kind of like sect where she got married off at like 19 before like dating or experiencing anything like that. So she would talk about how hard that was going to be. Then the mom was like, well, I'm in my 40s. It's going to be hard for me too. I was like, well, it's not a competition, I did see that for sure. She does have some signs of that.
Oh my goodness. So for those of you, because we never really get an opportunity to recap these things. Are you recapping I can't even pronounce it now. There we go. My Unorthodox Life. Are you recapping that on your channel?
Yeah. So I started on TikTok. So I've got quite a couple of videos on TikTok. I just finished it today. So now I'm going to try to do like a character breakdown similar to the way that I do Love is Blind. Because honestly, I have to say, I don't know if you like him or not, but Rob, her assistant, I really like that guy.
I like his storyline this season more than her. I like his whole. He got a whole body makeover. He finally got with his one of his best friends. They're together now.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. I do like him part of the show, and he's the COO. Is he still the COO?
Well, is it okay to tell you this? I don't know. Do you want me to ruin it?
I don't care about spoilers. For those of you that do, turn this off.
Well, they all got fired because Silvio took back the company and fired them all.
I figured as much, but I was watching it and I was like, oh, I was like, I wonder if he's still there because he showed loyalty to Julia in those first few episodes. I was like, oh,
yeah.
And
you know what?
Stealing money.
Well, that's the thing. He was so fiercely loyal, and she even chews him up for not being loyal enough. I was like, well, what does this woman need? My God. I know. It was insane. But her daughter, what do you think about her daughter, Miriam? She's bisexual. Oh,
I don't know how I feel about her. I mean, she's young, so I'm not going to rip into her. But
yeah,
the way that she was sort of like, I mean, I get her defending her mom. It's her mom. But the way that they were dogging Sylvia, I was like, because don't they still live in that $65 million apartment?
Well, here's the thing. Yes, they do. And when it comes to Silvio not really like feeling the kids, I understood him on the point of her and her girlfriend. Like her little girlfriend would
Yes.
stay in there all the time. And I'm like, I
New
feel
girlfriend. New girlfriend.
yeah, like they were just like together for like a short period of time. And then the girl would constantly be in that apartment. Like she'd sleep over. She says that the girl was barely at her apartment since they started dating. So I'm like, listen, if I were Silvio, that would irritate me too. Like, come on now. Like they're like 23-ish years old. Like, why are they not
And they're
out of
all
the
up in
house?
your house. You think the
Yeah.
mom would have an issue with it? Having who knows what in her room? How old is
Mm-hmm.
she?
23 years old.
Not under my roof.
Exactly. Like that I totally got.
But at 65 million, I mean, that apartment's gorgeous. I don't
Mhm.
understand how she's still in it. Is she going to end up owning it? Because if anything, that's all she
Listen.
needs in the divorce.
I don't think she can afford it. And I'm really curious about how much she can gain in a divorce from a marriage of a year and a half. You know, can you really gain that much in such a short period of time, do you think?
If she gets this apartment, and of course
Yeah.
she's going to sell it, eh,
Uh-huh.
then that's one hell of a year and a half.
I
60 something
swear.
$1 million apartment.
It's insane.
And if he's that rich, he's probably like,
Yeah.
whatever, but he's still fighting for these things.
Uh-huh. Well, he had someone from the inside steal back his expensive artwork. That was crazy to me. Yeah.
Why do you have to steal it? Can he just like, I'm taking these? Because the very first episode, he's
Yeah.
taking his things out of the apartment. Why wouldn't he just
Mhm.
take all those things?
Well, I don't know why he forgot them. I did see him take some artwork,
Yeah.
but then later, I guess he was like, "No, I need to get those too. They're very valuable." He was threatening to send movers over, so she barricaded herself and her family in the house. So like their locks were on from the inside, so someone from the inside had to steal the art back. It was crazy. I know.
Those people that work for them are loyal to him. He's the
Yeah,
one with the money.
exactly,
That's
exactly. Like,
messy. And this is why you need a prenup, y'all. And it doesn't matter if you're a thousandaire or a billionaire. You need to
mhm.
get yourself a prenup because you never know what you might end up with in later. Just saying.
1,000%, 1,000%. I feel like the majority of marriages end up like this, unfortunately, right? Like,
Yeah.
protect yourself.
When we were live on my channel talking about the Real Housewives of Potomac, you mentioned that you were working on a project about Bethenny. I
Yes.
want to repeat that project to you because I think that's so interesting. Can you talk about that?
Mhm.
What you're working on?
Yeah, of course. So the Meghan documentary dropped today. And so I was thinking, listen, in honor of this documentary, why don't I do my own documentary on her biggest fan, Bethenny Frankel? Bethany has been saying, like, she seems to have like a hard on against Meghan. And I always feel like people who hate her, like viciously hate her, it's rooted in racism. I feel
Hey
like it's one
Pierce.
thing. Mhm.
Hey Pierce.
Exactly. And him, it's rejection too, because I think he was trying to get with her, even though he was married, right? Like in
Hmm.
your dreams.
We haven't forgotten. Didn't
Yeah.
he just come out and say that he was triggered about his voice being heard in the documentary? Really? The amount of times you talked about Megan.
Exactly. He's like one of the biggest haters of all. And so when you dig deep, you really see that like that theory holds true. Like not Megan, sorry, Bethany has said a lot of like racist things about Black women, about women of color in general, about Latinos. Yeah, she's quite wild. Like some of the stuff that I was teasing on your channel was how she would describe Real Housewives of Atlanta. She would always say that they're the most violent. She's scared of them, even though there has been violence on New York, New Jersey, on pretty much all of them, right? She calls them the Real Housewives in the Hood. She claims that they only get high ratings because they pull each other's weaves out and stuff like that. Like she's really like blatantly racist against them, in my opinion. And she has made some comments about like Latino workers whenever she'd go shopping and stuff. She'd say stuff like, "Oh, I don't know, these people don't speak good English. Zapatos is shoes in Spanish, right?" Like stuff like that. She says a lot of really nasty stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, so I really want to dig into that and just put it all out there. Just so people could say, listen, maybe
You're not scared
someone
of
else.
a cease and desist? She sent a cease and desist to another TikToker.
Yes, she did. And that TikToker didn't even do anything. Wasn't she just saying, why are you out here like crapping on like makeup brands and stuff like that, just so you can come out with your own skincare or makeup brand or something like that? How do you send a cease and desist over that?
it's showing her that she's a little more sensitive than she claims to be, which is
Yeah.
funny because this week she was on Watch What Happens Live talking with Andy
Yes.
about
Mhm.
her new podcast, Rewives. I haven't listened to it yet. I'm not sure if I will or if I have time. But yeah, the Meghan and Harry documentary came out today, but by the time you guys watch this or hear this video, it will already be out. And you guys will share your thoughts about it.
Mhm.
You have seen the trailer though. Like, what are your thoughts so far on what's happening with Meghan and Harry? And since they've been married, it's been like
Mhm.
nonstop.
You know, it's so funny. I'm halfway through the first episode right now. Listen, I feel horribly for them because, like Harry says, history is repeating itself in the way that Meghan is being treated similarly to Princess Diana.
Mm,
Um, it seems like a targeted attack, and it seems like one that is coming from his own brother's side and perhaps even his father. I remember that when he sued the press and won, one of the sources was revealed to be someone who was a senior advisor to Prince William. So it's like, okay, well, how is it that a source leaking all these nasty stories, or planting, I should say, because they're not true, a lot of them,
mhm.
how could he be working for his brother? And the fact that he's still employed for his brother, that's a little suspicious, isn't it?
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I saw it recently, and look, and I don't, dig deep into Harry Meghan that often, but I did see a
Mhm.
recent headline where I think former security person was speaking out that the threats against Harry and Meghan were real, and that's
Mhm.
the exact time that the royal family had stopped their security. And I was
Yeah.
just like, wow,
Hmm.
you don't even care about Harry? Your own?
Exactly. It's sad, honestly. It's really sad. Like that, there's a lot of really like, I think, and I don't want to get into conspiracy theories because I think that was a conspiracy theory that was going around about Princess Diana as well, that like they did not care about what happened to her after the divorce and stuff. They're like, you know what, we're just not disposing of you in that sense, like taking you out, but like you're disposable to us at this point because you're no longer married to this person or that person or working within this firm and stuff. I feel like, oh, that's a little, you guys didn't think that through about the optics of that for sure. Yeah.
There are conspiracy theories or people that really do believe that the royal family were behind Princess
Mhm.
Diana's death. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Honestly, this world is crazy, and I try not to think about it too much, but there are a lot of really dark and twisted things that happen. The truth is stranger than fiction, and
Mm,
that's a scary thing. Yeah.
Most definitely. Grace, I'm so glad you took time out because I know it's pretty late over in Paris. But what else are you watching? What else should
Uh-huh.
everyone be on the lookout for when it comes to your channel, your TikTok, and things like that?
Oh my God, I don't even know what I'm watching next at this point. There's just so much. I know Too Hot to Handle just dropped. So I think I will be watching that and talking about it as well. I do have to get caught back up on Next Chapter, Team Mom Next Chapter, because I'm way behind on that. Dating Without Borders as well is seeming really good. So I definitely want to keep up with that. Um, I don't know. Just keep an eye out. I really want to focus more on deep dives as well.
Mm.
So I am starting to kind of look into things. A series that I'm working on is Glee. You know how there's the Power Rangers curse about how a lot of tragedies happen to them over the years. Well, there's also a Glee curse. So I'm really looking into that, and I'm going to start covering that, I believe, next week as well.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a great advice, and we can end it here in regards to advice that we get to other content creators for that are trying to do what we do or other people do is to
Mhm.
find your niche and also find a way to be interesting in regards to what you're reporting on. And I feel like deep dives, certain platforms really love those certain, there's an audience that really, really enjoys that type of content because even when you're talking about it, I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. I would love to see what you dig up. So
Yeah.
what's some advice that you would give to someone that's trying to do what you do, or
Uh-huh.
someone that's trying to move to Paris?
Ah, all right. Well, if you're trying to do content creation right now, I think TikTok is a good place to start because I've been noticing like that videos really pick up steam over there quicker than YouTube for me anyway. And deep dives, I started learning about them through TikTok because I started following people who would go down the rabbit hole on things. And I was like, well, this is exciting because I never like figured out how that could fit on YouTube. So to do it in a way that's just so short and easy, that was really exciting to me. And I feel like if you've got like a full-time job and all these other things that you're doing, it's easier to make short form content really quickly on your phone than to do, you know, the sit down stuff that we do. So if you start a following there, and while also trying to promote a YouTube channel so that you know, when you've got the time to get into that, definitely get into that. And then when it comes to moving to Paris or moving abroad in general, I would definitely say start by learning the language. Because when I came here, I spoke a base level, like an A2 level of French. And it was really difficult to like read documents, speak to people, make friendships and stuff like that, or even go to the grocery store, go to the post office. Like it was difficult. So start before you leave, I think is the best advice I can give. I don't know. Read a lot about the local culture. Like there's different social cues and social cultures of different countries. So I would study a lot of that, like through podcasts and YouTube before coming here. Just really absorb it before you're even there. Like really learn as much as possible and save your money and push through it. The first year or the first few months are going to be difficult. You're not going to have much friends. You're not going to have much anything really. And it kind of feels like a downgrade. I don't know if when you went to the Netherlands for a while, you kind of felt that way. But like in Canada, I own like a really like beautiful apartment. That's where I lived in the same building as my ex. And it's next to, I can't say, but it's like, it's a really luxurious apartment. It was one of the best ones out there. And I owned it. And so when I came here and, you know, the euro versus the Canadian dollar, like €1 is like 50 cents. So I have like half the money here. So getting into like the apartments that I had at first, I was like, oh my God, why did I leave everything to kind of like downgrade all the way to like an apartment half the size, no dishwasher, no this, no that. Like it was crazy, but like stick through it. I swear, Kempire, the culture shock, learning they don't have dishwashers really here or like drying machines. You have to like air dry your stuff. I didn't understand that before I came. I had never been. I just came.
It's
you
very
know, so learn.
It's very different. You get used to it. Obviously, people survive out there, and that you learn that. And here's the thing that I would add to this: you also should travel there for a little bit, visit the place that you want to live, and then see and spend some time. While you're there.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could do it. I'm glad that you're inspiring. Someone's going to hear this or watch this and be inspired. And like, thank you, Grace, for sharing that advice.
I hope so. Honestly, it's life-changing. It's incredible. I feel like my world has been opened up so much more since moving abroad. Yeah.
I agree. Grace, I appreciate you taking time out. As always, guys, more information on Grace Report's YouTube channel, her TikTok, and everything that she's working on, her social media will be available in the description of the episode and the video. Grace, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. This was so much fun, Kempire. I'm so proud of all of your growth. You've been like shooting up like a rocket, growing so quickly, and it's been such a treat to see.
And I have to say, you know, because you already know in the blogging space that we cover, there aren't a lot of other content creators that are as supportive as you have been to me. So I definitely want to say thank you for that.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you.